Peace be with you. Let's talk a little bit about democracy, dictatorship, and oppression of women. So the West is trying to make itself known that they are a bastion of, enlightened thinking and freedom for women and freedom for all people, right? And if you just look at a most recent example of what's happening in France, so right, they banned abaya, which is just a long black dress. It's all it is. They literally said you cannot wear a long black dress because, in the name of secularism, because we associate it with your religion, we don't even want to see it. That's like telling the LGBT community we don't want to see your rainbow flag. No, you cannot wear it in the cause of equality and making everybody feel comfortable. You cannot show your LGBTQ flag. You can't show the rainbow flag or that other flag with the triangle in it at all because that we are a secular state. Secularism is just now a religion. They make themselves into a god. Oh, you women want to wear a black dress? We are all pro freedom of women, and we don't define this as freedom. We find this as oppression. So even though it is your choice out here in the West, you can't wear it. You're not allowed to. They literally do the exact same thing that they accuse, Muslim countries of doing, telling women what they can and cannot do. They call it oppression over there. They want to go and bomb those countries so they can, quote unquote, free these women. But when women are out there in their own countries, in the West, in France, and this is France, this is not like this everywhere, but France in particular, then, we have to ban this. Now you can't have this choice because you're a woman, nor can you have this choice if you believe in God, even though it does not cover your face. Before the excuse was, niqab, it covers the face, so we have to be able to see the face. And we saw that was nonsense during the COVID pandemic when they made you, the whole world, they made you cover your face. And they were fine with that then. Then it wasn't a danger. Then they didn't need to know who they were dealing with, right? So, in the case, in the way of hating something, of suppressing religion, they are literally doing everything they accuse Muslim countries of doing, or the Eastern countries of doing. France is a dictatorship. It is one of the most oppressive, racist places. And if you are an American and you want to see what happens when you lose freedom of religion in this country, you don't have to think of Muslims, think of yourselves. You're already oppressed here. You can have the drag hour where you read whatever, but you can't read the Bible to people because, quote unquote, freedom of religion. How I, as a Muslim, would rather have my kids hear the Bible than what they're trying to teach them with the whole sex thing. I'm going to teach my kids the Bible. Now how we interpret the Bible and how we look at the development of the biblical canon may differ between us. Because I think Bible, what is written by Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, in the Bible, I think it's valid. I think it's true because it doesn't contradict the Quran. The Quran doesn't contradict it. And what I do object with in the Bible is that the fact that how it's interpreted. One of the reasons the Quran was so clear to me because I read the Bible first. And I did not find Trinity, nor did I find a divinity of Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, in it. Or at least I found the evidence against it to be far greater than any suggestion of it. So that's it. But here in America, you're forbidden essentially from reading that to the kids, just like in France now. You are forbidden to wear an abaya, a long black dress. And you think you are a people who are free. You're not. They're just forbidding you from gravitating toward morality. They want your daughters, they want your sisters, they want your mothers, they want women themselves to take off their clothes. Everything is geared toward that. And if you try to introduce anything that will not allow it, then they will suppress that by any means necessary, because they cannot accept the fact that women would even voluntarily want to be humble because they need her to be naked. These people who are sick, they want the prevailing pattern of culture in society to be that women debase themselves by taking off their clothes, by doing all of that, and they don't want a suggestion that it is acceptable for it to be done otherwise. And that is for the same reason they banned the Bible from being read out to the people, because they want a certain mindset, and anything that questions it is a problem. Imagine a little kid asking, if you have a drag hour, you can have a Bible hour. Just educational. It doesn't have to be religious, educational. And then Analytica asks, well, how come our world is like this if we are a Christian nation, for example, and we're doing all this that God forbade, right? So they don't want that position to be even possible. And banning of Abaya in France is just a symptom of a much deeper disease, the anti-religious effort that people who need us to behave a certain way or really giving to divert us or to forbid us from either a learning about religion or be practicing it in a moral way. So the devil stands at every door, and the legal system is one of it. But that is why the fathers of the United States of America really made it a point to make sure that we have this freedom. We have this freedom of speech and freedom of religion. We're free to say what we want and express our religion in a way that doesn't harm anyone, like wearing an abaya, a long black dress. Or if that doesn't work, we have the ability to talk about it first, to say, hey, look, this isn't fair. We're not going to be governed by you in such a way. We didn't give you this kind of authority to pick our religion for us and to tell us what we can and cannot think. I think that is not the role of the American government. The role of American government is to organize our efforts so we can make defense and sustenance and things of that nature infrastructure more efficient and more effective. It's not to tell us what we can and cannot think, what ideology we should and should not follow. Government, when you talk about religion, government is not allowed to fund religion. But religion is just an ideology. So when the government is funding the far left-wing LGBTQ ideology, when it's supporting it, when it's writing laws in its favor, it's just an ideology, just like religion. That is a state-sanctioned religion, and that is illegal. That is anti-constitutional, but people don't realize that because they don't want to realize it, because they don't understand that the role of government is not to direct their lives, control their lives, but in order to direct their efforts. And founders of this country knew that. So that's why they said you have freedom of religion. B, you have freedom of speech. You can defend it. And then C, you have the Second Amendment. So if anybody tries to tell you, how you're going to think, they're not a legitimate government because C, A, and B. So that's why France is a dictatorship, pure and simple. So we are friends with dictators. We are close friends with dictators. Actually, they're allies. Just like, for example, the Saudi princes, right? They're dictators as well, and they're our allies closely as well. So we are allied with a lot of dictators. And we're talking about democracy. Then we go and we spread democracy around the world, and that is why America is losing prestige on a foreign, around the world. Not because we're not good people, but because our leaders are liars. And as they are forcing all these weird, despicable things on us here at home, they also support countries who do the same thing abroad, like, for example, France. And you can even Saudi Arabia or Egypt. But yeah, so that's how religion and politics, they intertwine, because if you are not governed by morality as a politician, you are just going to be a dictator, or you try to be a dictator, and that can't happen. At least I hope in America that won't happen, because as a base for resistance, you have the Constitution, and you have a method to resist just by free speech, and you have to insist on those rights. And if you don't, then you're going to turn first into France, and then you're going to turn into like Afghanistan and stuff like that. That's what happens when freedom dies, and that's what happened when a order based on a law that everybody agrees on gets destroyed. Peace be.